Hi, everyone. Diana Rankin here. And hello, Sheila. Good to see you. We are doing well. The storm that's been sweeping across the nation hit us late yesterday afternoon, and it was pretty windy all night. But everything is fine here. I was kind of wondering if we'd still have electricity, but we're very fortunate that we do, obviously. Internet stayed on, cell service stayed on, everything's fine. Somebody did go to the doggy spa in the morning and get her hair cut and all that. I think she's still worn out from that trip today. Piper's back there sound asleep. She was awake when we first started and was sitting up, so you'll see her on the cover picture. She was awake, but it was like that's enough. That's enough. I'm tired now. So it's always good to see those of you who can come live. I'm grateful. We're going to continue, in a sense, with last week's question about spirit guides today, because the question came up from a viewer about, what if I can't access my spirit guide? And so we're going to look at that today. Philip has some more wisdom for us. We'll also, of course, get I'm really doing well today, aren't I? I'm glad you're there holding the energy for me. It must be the storms. We're getting some snow flurries now. I'm in rural Ohio, by the way, and I know this storm has really dropped some snow in some areas and tornadoes in others. And we had around where I live here in Ohio, we had trees down. I've got a couple of trees in the backyard that are going to need some attention now. One came down and nearly took the other one down, which is going to now have to come down because it damaged it. So, but we're fortunate. But I will tell you, little Piper, we had to put her thunder jacket on because every time the wind was very, very loud. And every time it would whoosh through, she would bark at it and get upset. And also if something, a leaf, not a leaf, excuse me, a branch or twig or whatever dropped on the roof, she would scold it. And she's very good at that. So we will also get a message from Phillip, my spirit guide, who is giving us all of our messages and talking to us. But this is one of his books, The Master's Book of Answers by Phillip. And as you've seen, each page is just a different message. So we just kind of flip through and we'll get the message for the week for all of us. Suzanne, good to see you. She says, hi, Diane and Philip. Best way to contact my spirit guides. We're going to get into that, but I want to read what Philip has to say, but also printed in my own comment section right below the video here, all the way at the bottom. I did put a link to one of my blogs that talks about 5 ways to contact your spirit guide. It comes out of my workshop, Awakening to Deeper Intuition. And one of the things we work on 7 ways to contact, but that gets a little bit deeper. So those 5 ways will help you out. And I think it also teaches you how to be safe doing this. Hello, Carol. Hi, Diana. So glad to catch you live. Well, I'm so glad you could make it. One of my sisters here, I think this is Carol from New York, upstate, or she's up in Maine now visiting. And I could be wrong about that. If you're one of my sisters, I may not have met yet in person. Anyway, let's get going here and read what Philip says about the spirit guides. But again, 5 ways. Oh, Carol tells me wrong, Carol. Well, then you're a new sister, Carol. Good to see you. Glad you're here with us. 5 ways to five steps to contact your spirit guide or learn who your spirit guide is. And you can read those 5 steps. And yes, I have been asked to do a course online on how to contact your spirit guide. And I keep thinking I will do that. And then something gets in the way. So I keep thinking, well, it must not be the right time. But I have been contacted by international class organizers to do that. So one of these days we will get around to that. Suzanne says, thanks, Diana. Well, you're welcome. We're going to get to that, but do look that up. Again, the link is at the very bottom of my information. And if you scroll down, it'll click right to the 5 steps to contact your spirit guide. And make sure you do the steps in order. That will be important. Robin, hello, good afternoon. Good to be here with you again. So glad to have you with us, Robin. Good to see you. And I believe I noticed your name came up to sign up for the newsletter, so thank you. My newsletter is free. I put an article out every week, and links to blogs, including Piper's story is one of the links. And then the other is, like this past week, I think the blog, it was about quantum physics and God, holistic, putting those together. What is that? That was the week before. What came out this morning, I remember the blog attached to it was about my spiritual experience, a mystical experience I had while sitting in an Egyptian pyramid that goes back into the 1990s, late 1990s. And that there's a link to that. You can just go to my blog and look that up as well. But on the newsletter, it was about sacred places, and whether it's inside a pyramid or in your own backyard, how to really connect with those sacred places. So the newsletter has articles of that nature as well. So anyway, let's get into today's questions. Here are the questions. Does everyone have a spirit guide? Why can't I communicate with mine? I know there's more, yet I never have a conscious connection to see or hear beyond the faith that there is a spirit guide. And here's what Phillip has to tell us. And I have to say, I debated about this question because I thought last week we pretty much answered this, didn't we? And apparently not, because there was a question from someone. So I looked at this question and I thought, is this the best question for this week? And by the way, if you have questions, you can put them in the comments below and I'll pick them up. You can also email them to me, and my email address is on my website. You can also go through the website, whatever's easiest. But when I started working with Phillip on this, it really surprised me what all he came out with. It always does, doesn't it? I think I have the answer, and then boom, I find out. The more I know, the more I recognize I know so little. So here we go. Phillip says, everyone does have a spirit guide, but not everyone is aware. There are also those who are aware, but have not yet learned to communicate with their guides. In both categories. So one category is those who are not aware at all, and the other category is those who are aware, but haven't formed the communication channel yet. In both categories, there are multiple guides, healers, teachers, protectors, and so forth around all. However, the two categories are quite different and, of course, have varying degrees within each category. In the first category, where there is no awareness, the person has forgotten we are all spirit and all one. Their beliefs will keep them from communication with the guide who is here to help them. It may take many lifetimes and much time in spirit world before they are aware. I will tell you, sadly, really, I could not do this work while my mother was alive. I love my mother, and I know she loved me, but it was a religious thing that the work I do was believed to be of the devil, not of God. And so out of respect for her, but also out of my own fear, not that this was of the devil, but my fear of disappointing my mother, of getting in trouble with my family. So I couldn't do this work. I kept it to myself. I think that's not unusual. I had to then go back in and work with myself as to how I can then do the work I've been brought here in human form to do. And I was in my late 40s before that came into being. Not to say I didn't study a lot before then. I did, but I kept it quiet. I left the church as a teenager, but I just kept my views to myself. Okay, here we go. Phillip says the second category of which we speak are those who are aware but have not yet learned to hear their guide, or so they think. I love that. You've not yet learned to hear your guide, or so you think. Your guide communicates with you in multiple ways. You may call it instinct or intuition. We save you from harm. We put human teachers in front of you. We work with you in the dream time. We speak to you on the wind or when you look into the night stars. We whisper the answer to your questions and drop books at your feet. We are here with you always. To work with us knowingly takes study, practice, and becoming aware of the whispers, even those who carry in this ability with their birth, even those who carry in. Sometimes Philip's syntax, it's very different from mine. And so I have to kind of like, what? Huh? What's that word? Is that the right word? It is. Even those who carry in this ability with birth must still study and practice. Now, as we say, everyone who moves into awareness is able to communicate with their spirit guide. We remind you this is with varying degrees. The human must be prepared through human lifetimes and in spirit world for the ease and depth of communication. For those beginning their spiritual journey, the communication will be more difficult, the doubts greater. Ease comes within the lifetime the seeker is ready. There is no rush, but the seeker can accelerate the journey through study, meditation, prayer, and of course, practice. Before I go on, and there is more, I want to say in Hinduism, there are 4 stages of life. The first stage is to be the good student and child. The second stage is to be the good provider and parent. The third stage is for the development of our spiritual journey. And the fourth stage, which we do in the US, we really don't practice, is to renounce the physical, all this stuff that we have around us, all this stuff that we think we have to have, and know that God provides whatever it is we need. Like I say, we don't go to that in the US as a rule. But also in the Kabbalah, in Jewish mysticism, women can only study the depth, really study the Kabbalah the way it's originally set up after menopause, because again, that's the third stage of life. The children are raised, we've been the good student, and now we're coming into the third. I am finding that has changed. I was, like I say, I was in my late 40s before I really started doing this work, even though, and I had a master's degree in how the sacred is expressed across cultures and throughout history from Antioch University. That's a whole nother story. But I do find it takes a certain amount of maturity. Now, that said, I know some young people who are phenomenal. They far outweigh the knowledge and the ability that I had at their age. So I am finding, as this energy that we live in speeds up, that the old rule of being in our 50s, it's not gone, but younger and younger people are coming into their own, so to speak. Okay, and then here's what Phillip says. Young children often communicate naturally with those in spirit world. This communication wanes as the child learns how to live as a human. The interest will resurface when the individual is ready. And you probably saw me smile when I read that young children often communicate, because my best friends were in spirit world when I was a girl. And, many of us feel we didn't belong in our families or in the world. We didn't quite understand it. And there have been many studies, including one by the very conservative organization, the Wall Street Journal, on sensitivity. And we're finding that 17 to 20% of the population is sensitive. And by sensitivity, we're talking empathetic. We're talking sensitivity to the world around them, including the spirit world, but I don't know that the studies show that. So if you were like me and you had friends in spirit world but seem very real to you, guess what? Philip goes on to say, this is not to say the spirit guide leaves the human. It is to say the guide steps back to allow the individual to learn the human way. Being in a body takes information not needed in spirit world. And when I was writing this, I'm thinking of a child who needs to learn how to walk. Well, in spirit world, if you don't have a body, you're not going to learn how to walk. And many psychological studies and spiritual studies will say that children up until about the age of 5 usually do talk to angels and others in spirit world, often grandparents, or great grandparents or ancestors. And somebody's kind of waking up, isn't she? So, but we lose that because we do have to be able to live in the human world as well. Philip goes on. As a person grows, they may develop a curiosity about spirit world and their guide. This is when we introduce them to sacred literature, teachers, and other forms of study. If you have a curiosity and you're in a bookstore and a book kind of falls out of the shelf, pick it up. That's for you. If you're drawn to a teacher, if you're drawn to a group, it may not be the group you stay with the rest of your life. It may not be the teacher you stay with the rest of your life. But pick up the study. That's your spirit guide guiding you. Philip goes on to say, and this none of us ever want to hear, by the way, this may take years of learning how to communicate with their guide. It might also happen quite quickly. Either way, the guide is here to help you along your spiritual journey. And then Philip, I love this. We are merely the guide to help you to navigate through life, to learn love with a capital L, love for yourself and all. Hello, Suzanne. Thanks, Diana. Have to head out. Well, we're sorry to miss you, but we know you'll watch this later because you'll want to get your message for the week. So here we go. I'm hearing right. If you heard right, our intuition's in sync. If you heard left, that's a message you need to pay special attention to. So on the right side, and this, I don't know if this is what we said last week or not, but it's close. When you seek revenge, it is upon yourself that it will fall. And this goes along with what Philip was saying. We are merely the guide to help you to navigate through life, to learn love for yourself and all. And that's a journey, my friends. Loving yourself, I think, is a journey. It's not the easiest journey in the world. And then loving others. And I will tell you, yesterday, I had to go into the grocery store while Piper was getting her hair done, her fur done. And I wasn't the kindest person. There were people in there, like one of the ladies working in produce coughed into her hand and then went right back working on the produce. And instead of sending her healing energy, I condemned her. I was thinking to myself, why are you doing that? Stop it. Instead of being and sending her healing energy. That's out here. When you seek revenge, it is upon yourself that it will fall. So what happened? Because I didn't send her, and it doesn't always come back immediately, but I saw it come back immediately. When I was checking out, there was a man next to me coughing without even putting his hand in his face. Now, I'm a mask wearer. I felt safe, but not really. And so again, instead of sending him energy, I just wanted to get away from him. And as I was walking out to the car, it hit me. Oh my gosh, This is not a loving way to be. No wonder my world is reflecting back to me what I'm putting out there. So be careful what you put out. The world is showing us exactly what mood we're in. And I was worried about Piper. I was stressed, time at this groomer's, and instead of letting myself trust and breathing in calm, I allowed myself to get stressed. And so I was just mirroring out or mirroring back to myself what I was feeling. So Phillip says, we are merely the guide to help you navigate through life, to learn love for yourself and all. If you heard left, is it not more difficult to hear when shouting than when whispering? Is it not more difficult to hear when shouting than when whispering? Same thing, really. So whether we're shouting loudly or shouting inwardly, listen to yourself. When we're out in nature, when we look at a beautiful little animal or a child or someone we love, it's easy to whisper. When someone or something displeases us, we want to shout. And sometimes I think it's good to, I always say, I go out in my meadow and I just want to scream at God. And sometimes we got to get it out. We got to pound the pillow and then start laughing. Hello, my friend, Anakala World. Blessings, Diane, and everyone in the chat. Thank you. It is always so good. And she keeps sticking her head up and then putting it back down. It is always so good to see all of you who are able to come live. And I love sharing this with you. I also love hearing the comments that you put below. And those of you with questions, just put them in the comments below. Those, or email them to me. And again, I just want to leave you with the two reminders. One, how to contact your spirit guide, 5 steps. That article is the link to it is below. So go ahead and look up that. And I want to leave you with this message. We are merely the guide, as Phillip tells us. Speaking of all spirit guides, we are merely the guide to help you to navigate through life, to learn love for yourself and all. Thank you for the love that you receive, that you accept from us. And thank you for the love you send to us. And thank you for loving our world. Hello, it's Theo, says, greetings. I'm a little late, but hope all is well. Well, I thank you all for your prayers and holding us. And Theo says, peace and love and lots of butterflies. We're grateful that we made it through the storm and kept our electricity on that came through yesterday. And for those of you that are still getting caught in the storm, we're holding you in love. Thank you all. I love you. Thank you. See you soon.